Indian Scott digging through the past. Crazy tales they uncover fast. History stranger than you think. They'll also talk about wieners in a blink. They'll talk about wieners in a blink. Oddball history.
Boom, boom, boom.
How?
Welcome to today's Oddball History. We are joined with Scott Crisp and my dog Allie, who will now be a more permanent feature of the podcast.
That's right.
In the new configuration,
She's a star.
We no longer have a table holding us down. We are podcast men in the 2-chair configuration now.
That's right.
Still in the Airbnb.
Yeah. Howdy y'all. We're in the fun, kitschy Airbnb.
Yeah.
Relaxed. You can see our whole bodies now. That's fun.
Here we are.
You know?
I do have the I'm not a totally out of shape man. But boy, when you see yourself sitting down on camera,
yeah,
you're like
you're all sunk into the chair. You're
like
just
you tubby piece of shit.
You just look like that creature that the girl turns into in the anti-weed commercial where she melts onto the couch like that.
Yes.
This is the way it's been since she started smoking pot.
And you're like, ooh,
oh boy,
not my best angle.
But today we are going to cover the Bone Wars.
Bone Wars.
Yeah, late 18th century scientists really got after it, trying to find dinosaur bones.
Yeah, the Biggie and Tupac of paleontology.
Yeah.
Edward Drinker Cope and OC Marsh.
OC Marsh.
Othniel Charles Marsh.
Yeah,
what a name.
Othniel. That was
Othniel.
a tough one.
1800s, they were just throwing
making
it
shit
out
up.
there. They were just doing wild shit with
But they did a
names.
ton of work to actually further paleontology, kind of caught the public's attention. Mm-hmm. And they also ruined each other's reputations and the standing of science in the government's eyes.
Yeah. It was like Magic and Bird, but if Magic and Bird had ended up penniless and and destitute and sick and near death.
If they both got HIV, it'd be like that.
Neither of them lived that far past the Bone Wars.
No.
But also, Bone Wars, is there a more fun historic event to say than Bone
Pretty cool.
Wars?
Also, the Brontosaurus gets brought up in this, and that's Greek for thunder lizard.
That's really cool. And I read that it was like Brontosaurus excelsus, so it was like noble thunder lizard originally. I think it might have got shortened. But noble thunder lizard.
Pretty sweet.
That's pretty awesome. Good job, Brontosaurus. Shout out. You guys, you haven't done much for a while, but we remember.
Thank you for the oil. That's very helpful.
That is true.
Yeah.
We remember the impact you had. You haven't got a lot of play in the Jurassic Park movies.
Yeah.
Probably your own faults for having such even tempers.
Yeah.
But
little brains, even tempers.
How mad do you think all the dinosaurs are about how cool they made velociraptors look? They're like, those guys sucked.
They weren't cool. They were like scavengers.
They were our pigeons, guys. They were our pigeons.
Yeah. I never thought of velociraptors as the squaw of the day.
Well, and I don't think we knew quite as much about them when the first Jurassic Park came out. So it was kind of like, maybe they were little, but they were badass.
But they looked pretty sweet.
We found out since that they were like really little. I think they were like chicken sized.
That's hilarious.
I could be wrong.
We might have to look that one up.
Raptor hive's going to come for my ass after this.
Yeah. But as always, first we're going to do the top comments.
That's right. We got some bangers this week.
As
always. I mean, you guys, you comment well.
And first, our AI overlords are going to tell us some dinosaur jokes. So enjoy.
Bring it on, you robot pieces of shit. Just because we're working together now doesn't mean I don't know. It's going to come. There's going to come a day.
Welcome to this week's top comments. But first, some dino jokes written by me, AI. One popular joke asks, why can't you hear a pterodactyl using the bathroom? The answer, because the P is silent. It's a classic that never fails to amuse. The mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex, with its tiny arms and fearsome reputation, is a favorite in the world of jokes. A common quip goes, why did the T-Rex have trouble getting out of bed? Because he was dino snoring. This pun perfectly captures the playful side of these prehistoric giants. Paleontology, the study of ancient life, offers a treasure trove of humorous possibilities. Imagine a paleontologist at a dig site exclaiming, I found a fossil. It's a rock-solid discovery. This field combines scientific curiosity with a touch of whimsy, making it ripe for comedic exploration. Whether it's a silent pterodactyl or a snoring T-Rex, humor brings these ancient creatures to life in unexpected ways. Keep laughing and exploring the oddball side of history.
So the first comment came from our YouTube channel where I messed up uploading the audio.
Yeah.
And so
there was a glitch.
I fixed it. Probably user error, if I'm being honest.
All right.
And so someone watched the full episode on YouTube.
I was trying to give you an out, but
yeah, it was me. My bad, gang. So I came to watch on YouTube because only the first 17 minutes of this episode are on Spotify. And I desperately needed to know what upcoming shows Scott wasn't going to plug this week.
Yeah.
There he is.
Hit.
Yeah.
I'm hit. He got me.
One of the best comedians in DFW. Also, a profoundly lazy man.
I do not. I'm really bad at self-promotion, which is a really bad thing to be bad at in comedy.
But he's very funny.
But look.
And you can see him headline at Rose City Comedy Club in
January 30th.
January 30th.
Tyler, Texas. My East Texas people. What's up?
They redid the club. It's 160 seaters. Great bar. Great food.
Oh yeah, you were there.
Yeah, I was just
gonna
there.
get into that a little bit later on, but yeah, that's it is. It looks very.
It is very nice. It's like I was laughing with the owner. He was like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "It's a comedy club.
Yeah,
like it's a legit, nice looking comedy club.
Hell yeah!
Which it used to like be the DIY. It was cool and everything made out of pallets and.
I never played it in its first version, but its first version was like an old cell phone store.
Yeah.
It was like,
if
I laid down and extended my arms, that's how like wide the room was.
And they crammed like 30 people into it.
They did it. And then they grew from that to the bigger room and then now into...
their own old Cantina Laredo.
Oh, hell yeah.
So they were laughing.
Good vibes in there from Cantina.
Yeah.
Tell me you don't have a great time every time you go to Cantina
at the end
Laredo.
Of your meal? Come on now.
Listen, Cantina Laredo, we love you.
Yeah, this is our a free sponsor, Cantina Laredo.
This one's on the house. Just because we love you so much. Everybody go to Cantina Laredo. It's a great time.
You can't go in Tyler anymore because there's a cool comedy club there now.
Yeah.
And then Lindsay, Velvet Spectre, first time, long time. She did comment, while we're on the subject, it was super hard to look at the total lack of cable management and carelessly arranged fake plants / ceramic cactus situation compared to where y'all usually sit in Jimmy's house. Is there a design term for the almost seemingly intentional anti-design that exists in this totally unique to Airbnb way? I hate it. Howdy, y'all.
Howdy, y'all. Yeah. I mean, I'm with that. It's really about Jimmy having impeccable taste, or maybe Jimmy's wife having impeccable taste.
Yeah. I will stand on it. That is one of the few things I did buy was the guy with the cleaver behind me at the old place.
It's a cool picture.
But I did look up just like the soulless Airbnb stuff, and I got a snarky Medium article where it just says it's called the Beige Conspiracy.
All right.
And it's a symbol of the quiet despair of capitalism and suburbia.
I could believe that.
Yeah. So there's
that sounds right to me.
There's your title, The Beige Conspiracy. That's what we'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
howdy, y'all.
Howdy, y'all. And someone says, if I had a nickel for every time NASA funded a brothel for dolphins, I'd have a nickel. But it's honestly insane that it happened even once.
Yes, that's such a good point. That is such a good point. It's well said.
We already did the joke, but it just cracks me up of NASA coming in to check on how their money's being spent. Just being like,
guys,
you're jerking off the dolphins. Like, what do you...
No, like, don't worry. You're going to get all the credit for it. If that's what you're worried about.
If this dolphin learns to speak English, you're going to be thanking me.
I'm always telling people as I'm stroking the dolphin off, I'm like, don't worry, it's for NASA. So everyone knows it's above board.
Don't side-eye me. Well, let's see. And then about the dolphin experiments with trying to teach them English. This guy did say, this is almost the plot of Day of the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Which I watched the trailer for it. Whoa. Hilarious 70s movie. The tagline on the poster says, unwittingly, he trained a dolphin to kill the President of the United States.
That's right.
Unwittingly, he had trained a dolphin to kill the President of the United States.
Can you find B?
Hell yeah.
That's right. So
it's like
the trailer is like dolphin. Yeah, the trailer, like the first half is like they're teaching a dolphin to talk. And then they're like, oh no, they were going to use the dolphin's ability to talk to kill the president. Like 2 minutes into the trailer. I was like, whoa.
We're really burying the lead here.
Where did this come from?
Yeah, the dolphin was going to use English to convince him to kill himself. That was the great twist. There's no violence. Perfect.
So they also made the dolphin like very convincing.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't just teaching him English. They also had to teach him the art of persuasion.
Yeah, which they are smart animals. If anyone can do it, it's a dolphin.
Yeah.
And then another one, because people like dolphins. If you like crazy animal-related history stories, look up this. The 1935 Sydney, Australia Coogee Aquarium with Jimmy Smith. And I looked it up, and that was they found this tiger shark, and they put it in an aquarium. And then the tiger shark threw up one day. And it was just the arm of a man with a very notable tattoo.
Holy shit.
And so they're like, what the fuck? And so they found the tiger shark had eaten a smaller tiger shark, and the arm was in that tiger shark.
Oh, wow. A turducken situation.
A murder turducken.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they actually it linked it to a murder because the arm was clearly cut with the knife. So they chopped up this guy's body and then dumped it into the bay, and then the sharks ate it.
Damn.
And I don't think they solved. They might have solved it. They found a guy that admitted to the murders.
Yeah. It's good that the guy, I was in my head when I was picturing it, I was imagining the guy getting his arm bitten off by one tiger shark and being like, oh no. And then that tiger shark immediately gets eaten by a larger tiger shark. And he's like, ah, oh no.
It's the ad to that phone game on everything where the fish are eating each other.
Yeah. And he just he's like, you know what? I'm just going to chalk that up to a loss. I don't think I'm getting it back.
I don't think I'm getting that arm back.
I don't think I'm going to see that arm again.
But so that
it was like a really fresh tattoo.
Oh, he was like, I just spent $500
Sat for 5 hours for that.
Yeah, it's a heart with mom and an arrow through it. Like
that's a lady with real big jugs.
The biggest jugs.
So much time on the shading of the jugs.
My buddy got a tattoo, cool pin-up lady looking.
Yeah,
but her butt cheeks, it's shaped right, but the crease in the middle is turned the wrong way.
Oh no!
So
she has an upside down.
She has an upside down backwards butt.
That's a serious medical problem.
It's just one line, just tanked it. I think I remember he was so proud of it, and I felt like a dickhead when he was like, "Hey, fresh ink, check it out." So the wrap on it. Then the first thing I noticed was her butt looks weird, and he was like, Oh, that is brutal. And it's an unfixable. You got to cover it because it's dark. But hey, there you go.
She has an upside down ass.
Shout out Pemby's upside down butt tattoo.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Butts sometimes get put in the wrong way down at the factory.
Yeah,
it's just
that was an episode of the Jetsons.
That's an episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But so now today we will talk
about
in
so much trouble with Mr. Spacely for putting an ass in wrong. Yeah. I don't remember what George.
They made
Spacely
sprockets. Sprockets. Yeah, that's what they were up to.
Of course. How could
I forget?
How soon we are to forget.
Yeah.
We miss you, Jetsons.
Yeah. What a poet. How soon we are to forget the lessons of history.
Wait a minute. The Jetsons have yet to live.
Ooh.
Or wait, no. Or do the Jetsons live around now? No, I think the Jetsons live in 3000. Right on in. Tell us when the Jetsons lived.
We got a few things to Google after this.
Yeah, you already have a lot of homework in this episode. We've got you researching a lot of things.
We're just going to ask about other topics we want to do and just make
We're just going to talk about things we remember spottily from here on out.
But so now we're going to start with the Bone Wars.
The world's first write your own podcast.
I'll get sidetracked by dicks at some point in time. It
happens. It's just natural.
It's what's going to happen. So, all right, we're starting the Bone Wars.
Bone Wars, though. The Bone Wars. It's the 1800s. It's the Gilded Age. A lot of people are doing a lot of wild shit.
And so our two main characters are Edward Cope, who was born in the 1840s in Philly, So if he were alive today, he would be a big tush push guy.
Yeah,
throwing
he would
batteries
be-
at Santa.
Yeah, he would be getting trashed down at the link, calling Packers fans C words for no reason.
For no reason.
Making Big Dom then go find the Packers fan and send her Packers gear to make
Did you see
good.
that guy got like fired from his job?
Oh no, but I'm really not.
Not referencing a specific incident.
No, but I'm not surprised. It was a pretty bad video.
Yeah.
That video. I only saw it once, and I only saw like a clip of it, but it was pretty.
And he was like
pretty
not
nasty.
you think that it would be like, a plumber that's berating some nice lady at a football game.
Yeah.
But he was like a portfolio manager at like a DEI intensive like company. And so his apology letter was well written, and boy, did he step in it. So he got fired immediately.
Oh man,
Which like is crazy. Like you can't get liquored up at an Eagles game and call a lady a C word,
it's a new day.
It's a new day.
It's really a new day.
We
when
used
you
to be a
can't.
proper country.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he went to UPenn and the Academy of Natural Sciences, and he mostly cataloged amphibians and reptiles there, which like Indiana Jones was bullshit. Like they were mostly in dusty offices doing boring things.
Yeah, it was not fun. I do think that a fun Indiana Jones sequel, I was thinking, would be, what if there was an Indiana Jones sequel where all it was Indiana Jones met the character Ross Geller, who's also a paleontologist from the show Friends.
Yep.
They meet at a conference, and Indy just starts kicking the shit out of Ross. He just beats
got
his
the whip
ass.
crack.
He's like pulling stuff off the wall and hitting him with it like a wrestling match.
Yeah.
And but that's most of the movie, and we never
most of the movie.
we never find out why. That's why it'll be a good movie, because you can kind of interpret.
It's like a 90-minute runtime of just Indiana Jones whipping the shit out of Ross.
Yeah, people will be left to interpret the beating on their own.
That's the thing about art nowadays is they really spoon feed you the message.
Yeah, yeah. I want to leave this broad.
I like it.
And then that's the whole film.
Yeah, Hollywood, give Scott money.
Yeah, just give me money. All we need. We don't really need that many actors. It's
Just two.
yeah, Harrison Ford,
David Schwimmer.
David Schwimmer. Thank you. Yeah.
Which he's
I
not
think my
busy.
distaste for Ross stems from like a jealousy, because I had a crush on Jennifer Aniston when I was a boy.
Didn't
and
we
then
all?
I'm watching Friends, and I'm like, this guy bothering you? This guy claiming it was a break when it was not a break. Y'all weren't. It wasn't.
Both people have to agree that it's a break.
Yeah.
But he ended up discovering like more than 1,000 extinct species in his career. And he was, don't do it. Don't do it.
Allie has her first
come here.
contribution.
Yeah.
She's mostly just been chewing this bone.
Phil's in the backyard barking at nothing.
And look at Allie bringing in a bone for Bone Wars. Oh my God.
Come here, girl.
What
Let me
a
see it.
fitting.
Here's Allie's Bone Wars. We're doing it.
She's like, I get it. I can help with this. I see what we're doing.
This podcast, much like an onion, has layers.
Yeah.
You know?
And here we're talking about people with unpredictable tempers who are very into bones.
It writes itself.
And here we go. Art
go.
imitates life, imitates art.
But Edward Cope, one of his big things was he was a neo-Lamarckian.
Yeah, I didn't know about this so much before.
So it
this
was,
episode.
because it's now was out of favor.
Yes.
So Charles Darwin had his
Darwin had his
theory of random,
the environment chooses how you evolve.
and the neo-Lamarckians were like, no, the animal chooses.
Yeah. If
So,
you
like-
like a trait, you can pass it down. Pretty
Yeah.
much. That was the idea.
Yeah.
Was like if you're very into having good eyesight, I guess, then your
Like, ooh, I need to
children would
pass
have
that down.
really good. Yeah, it's very.
Which it's not true, strictly because we all don't have 9-inch penises.
Yeah.
If we had a choice in the matter.
Yeah, because we're not a race of giant dicked supermen.
Yes.
Well, the world would the world would be so different.
Different.
The margins of victory in our hot body contests would be so minuscule as to make them meaningless.
Yes.
The hot body contests.
What's the point now?
Who wants to live
Yeah, nobody.
in that world?
Yeah, you can't know the light without the dark.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes you think.
Preposterous, Neo. Take that, Neo Lamarckians.
Yes.
We find your ideas ridiculous, and we don't even know what happened in the Jetsons.
And then OC Marsh is the other guy in this.
Yep.
And he became a professor at Yale, was like the first professor of vertebrate paleontology in the U.S.
Yeah, they're both kind of rich guys, but they have kind of different rich guy paths. Like, Cope was the one who was he was born rich, a Philadelphia gentleman, and then Marsh was born on a farm, and they were like he was a farmhand. But then I looked it up, and it was a gentleman's farm, which means pretty much you're rich as fuck and you live on a farm and you kind of farm for fun, but you're not relying on it.
It's like
sounds kind of
it's like the West Texas guys with oil money that still ranch, where it's like you're just dicking around out there. Like you got mailbox money coming in,
tooling around in a 4-wheeler. I don't blame you for it.
But he had he had every intention of taking over the family farm until his wealthy uncle George Peabody picked him up and sent him to college in Germany to study, and that's where he started his academic rigors.
Yeah, good time to go to Germany and go to college with the Civil War raging in America.
Not a bad time. Podcast slightly interrupted. We got dog management going on.
There's Phil.
But the big source of his wealth and power in the government came from his uncle, George Peabody, who was a banker that started the company that eventually became J.P. Morgan.
Yeah, J.P. Morgan's dad, J.S. Morgan, was like they became business partners, and then they started this company that just got bigger and bigger, and then was eventually taken over by J.P. Morgan. And he's the first philanthropist, America's first philanthropist.
He was big on that because he had no kids, and he had millions and millions of dollars, and probably not a terrible guy.
Yeah, OC Marsh was the one. He convinced George Peabody to open the Museum of the Natural History or whatever at Yale. That I think became his home base.
And then one of OC Marsh's big claims to fame is he was a no-nonsense individual and would debunk hoaxes.
Hell yeah.
And he was the first official sciencey guy to debunk the Cardiff giant.
Oh yeah, the Cardiff giant hoax was really funny. The picture is
hilarious.
Dynamite.
It's a 10-foot guy carved out of gypsum that this guy made and then buried in his friend's backyard, and then they uncovered it, and we're like, oh my God, giants.
It's a petrified giant.
Yes, one of the Nephilim from the Bible.
Holy shit. Wow.
And if you look at it, we'll have a picture up. It is just a big, poorly carved guy in rock, and they put a root on him.
Yeah, they put a big old hog on this guy.
Hog on this guy.
And other than that, he looks like a child's drawing.
Yes.
There's a really funny picture. My favorite picture of the Cardiff Giant is there are all these men who I guess were on the digging team, and they're all standing around him with their hats to their hearts, like looking solemn. Around the Cardiff Giant. Like they're like,
wow,
this is very serious. What's going on today? And then the Cardiff Giant's like, like fucking does not look like a man.
You can't be goofing off with your buddies when such a tremendous hog is present in the room.
Yeah.
Show some respect.
Yeah, exactly. You got to doff that cap.
Doff your cap.
To the petrified man with the respectable
But
Johnson.
Both of these guys, Cope and Marsh, were dickheads.
Yes, absolutely. I thought it was funny that you used that term too. I had the same term in my notes.
Yeah.
I wrote actually... I wrote, Cope was a loud, obnoxious dickhead, whereas Marsh was a reserved, introverted dickhead.
Yes.
That was the difference.
Some quotes. Someone said getting to know Marsh was like running against a pitchfork.
That's rough. That's
not good. That's not a positive thing.
You're not making a good first impression.
And then Cope said of himself that he was not constructed for getting along comfortably with the general run of people.
Yeah.
So pretty much he's built different.
Yeah.
Like he's got that dog in him.
Got that dog.
Dog in him. Which Cope was, of the 1,000 extinct species he found, he also coined those two terms.
That's right. He was a Renaissance man.
Renaissance man.
He kind of like Nixon in this way. He's like people hate me, and honestly I get it.
I get yeah.
That's kind of like his whole vibe. They both had that, except Cope like had his friends and some people liked him, like the people in his life generally liked him, but they were kind of few, and he had a real quick temper. He was called a militant paleontologist by a friend of his. So he would like scream at people. So a lot of people didn't like him, but he at least had his people. Marsh, I got the sense, didn't really he just didn't care for people.
Well, and then throughout this whole story, like Cope is actually a guy that's out in the field. And Marsh went on the first Yale science expedition in 1870, and then he went the next 3 years in a row. And those were the only times he was actually in the field doing the work. The rest of the time, he was just bankrolling people with his uncle's money to get these things done. And they would mail him things.
These big teams of hired guns. Which, he had so much money. That was...
At the beginning of their career, though, they were both friendly with each other. And kind of the first shot across the bow
it comes from the marl pits in New Jersey.
Yep. Cope finds a Hadrosaurus pretty well intact and invites Marsh down to come look at it. And while Marsh is there, he goes to the miners and pretty much pays them to just send things to him instead.
Yeah. Just outright fucks them over. Immediately out, just like straight up like, oh, I'll take this. Apparently, I saw in the doc that apparently the Cope was among a breed of paleontologists who it was kind of like they were like an old school of paleontologists, and they had like this kind of code of honor among themselves.
A lot of gentleman stuff going on.
Doing shit like bribing pit owners to divert fossil finds to you.
Well, there are some just cultural things you hope where it's like maybe if everyone just doesn't think you should fuck everyone over, the world would go better. You know?
Yes. Yeah, and that's a recurring theme in this too, is that Marsh and Cope did not need to spend so much energy tearing each other down. There were so many fossils in the places they were looking.
So many, because they were like the first people to find all the like American fossil sites.
Yeah,
which
most
is why
of them. Them and Joseph Leidy was the other big one.
He was their contemporary.
Yeah, he comes up and then he gets out of he was disgusted by how much Cope and Marsh hated one another.
Oh, because they would pay guys to like blow things up and bury sites.
Marsh specifically would, if he told his men, if you can't take it, destroy it. So Cope can't ever find it.
Very petty.
Which is that's not really in the spirit of science.
I don't think so.
Bill Nye is not signing off on
Bill
that.
Nye is rolling over in his grave right now.
Although, actually, you know what? I was watching a Jacques Cousteau documentary the other week.
Yeah.
And they blew up a section of coral with dynamite in the nature documentary because they were like, this is the only way to show how the fish come from all around. He was saying like that was the best way to rock, or that was the best way to get a good sample of all the fish that lived in a certain was blowing it up with dynamite. But it was so cartoonishly like 50s. I was like, I expected the next scene to be like, we have taught the seals to smoke cigarettes.
But their next big encounter.
They didn't, though.
They didn't. Thank God.
They kept it professional.
Yeah.
The other thing is there weren't wetsuits back then, so it's a bunch of doughy guys in tiny Speedos snorkeling around during. That was the only other big difference between our current ocean docks and Jacques Cousteau. Yeah. The dynamite and the dude's junk all in your face.
But their next thing was the Elasmosaurus.
Oh, yeah.
Which Cope, again, they say kind of like gloating now that he found this giant, like a marine reptile. and he
How
wanted
could you
to
not gloat a little bit.
He invited Marsh to come look at his dope ass dinosaur he found, and when Marsh got there, he was like, "I'm pretty sure you put the head on the tail, and it should be on the other side."
Yeah.
And then Joseph Leidy was there, and he was like, "Yeah, Marsh is right."
Yeah.
And so they immediately like fought about it, but Cope was in the wrong, and he attempted to buy every journal that published his mistake in it unsuccessfully. So that was their. Now they're getting full blown contentious with each other.
Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, it's a real big loss for Cope there. He that's a big. You're so wrong.
Yeah, and Marsh took a lot of pride in
so caught
fucking with Cope about correcting his mistakes.
Yeah, and then you give him the
big mistake,
on a platter.
Oh, it's like arguing with your wife, where like she's right, and it's been a big contentious thing, and you're like, "Fuck, I got to own up to this one, don't I?"
You've really dug your heels in.
And you're like, "Oh, well, I'm going to backtrack now."
Being caught is the worst. One time I was mowing my neighbor's lawn. I would mow lawns in my neighborhood for money when I was a kid, and I was mowing my across the street neighbor Tim's lawn, and I mowed over like a water meter cover, a plastic water meter cover, cut it in half with the mower blade. And then I went, and it wasn't a very big thing. It wasn't that noticeable, but I didn't realize my neighbor was home at the time. But apparently my neighbor watched as I walked over to this now bisected water meter cover and picked it up. And I looked one way and then another and then threw it into the alley behind his yard. And then so after I was done, I was going to get paid, and he was like, "Hey, so that water meter, so you ran over that water meter cover, huh?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh no."
That? I thought that was some trash I found in your yard.
Yeah, he was like, "It's fine."
Yeah.
Before, but I appreciated that.
Yes. Good life lesson for
Marsh
everybody.
wasn't affording Cope any such grace.
And Cope made a lot of mistakes because Marsh had more money, had more men, had more power.
Yeah.
And so Cope really had to do the legwork. And so it was like they called it taxonomic carpet bombing.
Yeah.
Is Cope would just, if he found something, he immediately published everything. And so Marsh had a lot of mistakes to correct.
Yeah.
Where they would name the same dinosaur like 12 times because he's only finding bits and pieces and just said they're all different things. Which I like taxonomic carpet bombing because this was pre-World Wars where carpet bombing was still fun.
Yeah, that's right. You could still say it and people wouldn't shudder and get a far-off look in their eye, which is nice when you're telling jokes. When you're telling jokes, I got to say, you do not want people to shudder and get a far-off look in their eye. That's like the last thing you want.
That's the top 5 things you don't want to happen.
Is not good. Not good at all. And during this period, I think this was Fort Bridger. Was at Fort Bridger, Wyoming, where this was after Cope had Marsh had fucked Cope in New Jersey. So then Cope went to Fort Bridger, which Marsh viewed as his territory in Wyoming. And this is when like the carpet bombing had started because they're discovering like these wildly rich stretches of bones. Yeah, there's. I think, was it while they were in Wyoming, they find out about the Colorado payload and they rush there. And every time Marsh would rush a place, Cope would have beat him to it, but it kind of didn't matter because Marsh had all the money. Yeah. So like, for instance, in Colorado, Cope's team actually beat him to the place, but then Marsh just had his teams work through winter, which is like negative 30 temps. Like they're like, the people in the documentary were like, paleontologists would never do this now.
And this was not good territory, like the Custer's Last Stand.
Yes. Yeah. At one point, Cope were like, hey, like a week after, like a few weeks after Custer had been.
Yeah, like there's still a lot of fighting with the Native Americans, and he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna go."
Yeah, and Cope was a Quaker, so he wouldn't carry a gun. Yeah, everyone was like, at the very least, carry lots of guns, and he was like, "I'm not gonna do that."
Sounds gay.
He was like, "I'm just gonna be walk nice like a man." How about?
Which is not going to be.
And he did.
Because I got that dog in me.
Yeah, because I got that dog in me.
The Indians will understand.
Patent pending. He patented the saying.
And Marsh at this time, again, the connections with the government, they start the U.S. Geological Survey Agency, which he becomes the chief paleontologist of.
Yeah, his buddy John Wesley Powell is the head of the Geological Survey, so he gets that job.
And so they essentially cut off all federal funding for Cope.
Yep.
And it just goes to Marsh now. So now it's even more lopsided.
Yeah, it appears that it's all that's the end of the bone wars for Cope. His money's dried out.
Yep. And he started a silver mining venture, which old people love gold and silver when it gets down to the end of their life. They got to do it.
They do not trust paper money.
Nope.
They do not trust the designated hitter rule. These are two things that old people will never trust.
Make the pitcher bat.
Make him bat. Back in my day, Cy Young hit 5 times, struck out every time. It fucking sucked to watch, but we did it.
It's what baseball's about.
And I'm sorry, maybe Cy Young raked too. I don't know. I have no idea how Cy Young
like Babe Ruth was
plate,
a pitcher.
You know, Babe Ruth
originally.
was like, what a stud though.
Yeah,
man, him and Shohei, those guys,
top tier talent.
I can't.
Babe wasn't in the era when they made $800 million, so a little different, but
yeah, you still had to be beholden to like a beer company owner.
Yes,
you're like, please, can I have $1,000 to go out on the town? And they're like, fuck off, babe.
But then when Marsh took over as the chief paleontologist, part of the rules for the federal government was the ultimate fuck you to Cope, which led to everything escalating to the media.
Oh, yes.
Is he put in that if you used federal money to find these fossils, they were the property of the federal government.
Yeah.
And so that was a move.
And he's trying to fucking like stomp him out at this point, because at this point Cope's wife had left him. He had lost his home. He was living in an apartment with nothing but his fossils. And then
Marsh
is like, fossils. Gonna need those fossils. But here's the thing. Cope actually took fucking insane notes. He detailed notes on everything, so he could actually show
that
where
he
every
spent
dollar,
like 10 times more of his own money.
Yeah.
So he got to keep his fossils.
Where every dollar that the government sent him went, and that he spent 10 times of his own money and ruined himself essentially getting these fossils.
Which Marsh did not keep meticulous notes, and because he was because he was so cozy with the government, he just got to keep his fossils at Yale and the Museum of Natural Sciences.
That he was like, my
Don't worry
fossils
about those.
are good though,
yeah,
right?
We're cool.
Yeah, and his guy John Wesley Powell, head of U.S. Geological Survey, is like, you got it, bud.
Yeah,
you got it, bud. I love you. This is the best friendship I've ever had in my life.
This will never go wrong.
And then they held hands and they skipped away.
Yes,
I'm just trying to bring history to life.
But so then Cope is hell-bent on ruining Marsh's reputation.
Yeah, he's like, he tried to take my fucking fossils, the only thing I have.
Yeah. So he goes to the newspapers, accuses them of plagiarism, fraud of federal money, and he has receipts for a lot of it. Like, he was doing shady shit.
Yes. Oh, that was another great part. Cope, all these years, is keeping notes on little pieces of dirt on Marsh that he calls his Marshiana, like Americana, but with Marsh instead of America. His Marshiana is just all the dirt, and he just sends it on to the press pretty much wholesale. All of his shit that he's ever collected, and that results in a Sunday article in the New York Herald that kicks this all off.
I think it's a scientists wage bitter warfare.
Yeah, and he's accusing him of like theft,
and
plagiarism.
It becomes like media circus. There's tabloid articles. It gets real petty.
It's 3 weeks of this. It kicks off 3 weeks. This is in the papers,
and because of all the media attention, it gets like the senators start getting, like the government apparatus starts turning a closer eye to it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what the fuck's going on over here?
Yeah, the scientific community this whole time, partially through Marsh, has been gaining like valuable inroads, setting up a very powerful kind of union between the scientific community and the federal government. And there are a lot of Congress, when they realize this is happening, they are quick. They want to break it up.
Yeah.
They're like, why are we spending so much more money than other countries are on science? They
He's
get
just
real
like,
mad.
Marsh is just like dinosaur Fauci.
So they, yes, that's right, exactly like that.
He's dinosaur Fauci. And one of my
people are mad at it.
One of Marsh's actual best works was like finding birds with teeth.
Yes,
and
it's a huge part of evolution.
And it was a huge like connection between birds and dinosaurs that we understand more now about how evolution works and kind of what we thought dinosaurs were. And now it's viewed as a great discovery. But at the time, there was a senator from Alabama,
Hillary Herbert.
And he was yelling. He's like, we're funding books about birds with teeth.
Yeah.
Which he's not wrong.
Yeah, he stood up and held the book up and said, "What are we doing financing books about birds with teeth?" And effectively, with this line, turned Congress against both Powell and Marsh.
Which I do love that it was a senator from Alabama, because this is the late 19th century. It's nice to know that Alabama's always been Alabama-ing.
Yep.
This is like the senator who like they changed the rules about IVF.
That's
and
right.
Then everyone yelled at him, and he was like, "Oh shit! Like, sorry, I thought science was gay." And then
that's right.
My bad, everybody.
And future Secretary of Navy Hillary Herbert, he of course did great. After his big books about birds with teeth line, he just surfed on that like for a while. Congress eliminates the Department of Paleontology. Yep. So that means no surveys, funding, or staff.
So Marsh loses his job, loses his funding, and loses his government access. And then, in a twist of fate, because he's unable to produce the same meticulous note keeping, they take all his fossils.
Yeah, they were like, hey, remember that rule that you hit Cope with about the government owning any bones that were found with government money?
Uno reverse card.
You're gonna be needing them bones.
Gonna be needing them bones.
And he got to keep a lot of his bones, but he ended up sending 80 tons to Washington. 80 goddamn tons of bones.
Yeah, it's a lot of bones.
To Washington. That's so much. What a fucking that's a shitload of bones.
Yeah.
In the meantime, this was kind of on his rise still, but Marsh ended up like being very important to the theory of evolution because of all his findings. This guy, what was it, Huxley, came from England, and he pretty much he studied horses, and he was trying to prove evolution through horses. Mm-hmm. And Marsh just busted out all these ancient horse bones that completely showed like the range like that the guy was looking for. And then he was like, oh yeah, also, if you're interested in evolution, how about a bird with teeth?
Everyone yelled at me earlier about the bird with teeth.
And
it's pretty neat.
Huxley's fucking psyched about it.
Yeah.
He's so amped about it, And he said that Marsh was like a conjurer, and that anything he wanted, Marsh had. And that ended up with Huxley being stoked. He takes it back to Darwin. Darwin's stoked on it. Darwin wrote a letter to Marsh. It's all a very big W for American science, which is still like in its early days, But that's all before the worm turns, and Hillary Herbert's like, actually studying birds with teeth is bad.
Yeah, y'all are stupid. We're stopping it.
Yeah, so they shut that shit down.
But really, it's because they were so petty that it looked bad, so they shut it down.
Yeah.
But then Cope died shortly after. Sad and alone. Not a great end.
That's right.
And then Marsh, or one of Cope's, my favorite thing he did after he died is on his deathbed, he donated his body to science and he challenged Marsh that they were going to measure his brain after his death to prove that he was smarter than him.
Hell yeah.
Which, again, we kind of disproved all the big heads mean smart men thing.
Yeah, I do love the holding on to the bitterness to the very end, though.
Marsh declined the competition.
He was scared.
He was scared.
He was scared. I heard Marsh's brain was so small that when he puts a hat on, the hat's like, is it in yet? That was weird. I think Edward Drinker Cope just took over my body for a minute to do that joke on the size of his brain. That was crazy. Whoa. Talk about
Ghost Hunter Scott back at it again.
That's right. Ever since I stayed in that girl's bed that she hanged herself from, but which was very comfortable. And they did have Hulu in the room, so I was mostly just enjoying the bear.
Yeah.
I've been a little haunted by the spirits of the subjects. There's no denying it. But Cope. Late in Cope's life, this goes back to him staying bitter to the very end. He's like an old dying man. He has kidney disease, and he's living in his apartment with his bones still, being very sad and sickly.
Oh, this is when he hid the drawings?
Yes.
Yeah.
A young illustrator contacts him, and it was like a famous guy. He ended up being pretty famous, I think, as an illustrator. But
they were trying to bring these fossils to life and recreate how they stood and looked, and so he drew all these very intricate drawings.
Yeah, so he gets Cope. He's like, hey, is there any way I could look at your notebooks? And Cope actually breaks out all of his old notebooks and takes this kid through and helps him with his big project. And then when he's done, he has the kid help him hide the notebooks under his bed because he's still convinced Cope's old ass or Marsh's old ass is going to come and steal them.
Yeah. And then,
which I appreciate.
Of course. And shortly after Cope dying, Marsh died too, with $186 in his bank account.
That's right.
So pretty sad.
He had gone, really sad story. He had gone to a meeting about probably his bones at the Smithsonian, and they had been like, yeah, fuck off. There are bones now.
Yeah.
I don't know that they said that, but they said it was disappointing. So it was
fuck off. There are bones. It's probably a good.
It was something like that. You know, they said fuck off.
He got pneumonia walking back in the cold.
He walked, and then he walked in the cold rain, the cold February rain from the train station, and got pneumonia and died.
But Cope discovered 56 new dinosaur species, and Marsh is credited with discovering 80.
So Marsh won, technically.
Which just goes to show winning is all about your uncle starting one of the largest banking empires in the world.
That's right.
I think that's a lesson the kids could really take to heart.
That's right.
Just get out there and compete.
Sometimes the rich kid wins. It can't all be Little Rascals stories, where the gang pulls through in the end. Sometimes the rich kid Waldo, is it Waldo? I think his name is Waldo, wins. That little son of a bitch. But that concludes our discussion of the Bone Wars. The Bone Wars.
Everyone's dead, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, but they hated each other. Their hatred for each other and sniping at one another completely unnecessary. As a paleontologist pointed out in the doc, there were so many fossils out there. They could have coexisted and worked together and probably
done more.
Yeah, done even more than they did, as it were.
But we'll circle back to the beginning. They were dickheads.
They were dickheads.
They were both dickheads.
They were dickheads, and I heard Cope had a very filthy mouth and was quick to like to catcall women.
Ooh,
which is another layer onto his onto his whole deal.
1880s cat calls. Hey, yo, ma, what that thing do?
Ooh, that bustle.
That bustle.
I imagine they'd comment on the bustle.
The bustle? Are you mean bust, or is bustle a word? I don't know.
Bustle's a thing that women wore on their lower backs that would give their
like the thing on under the dress.
That would make them look like they had a horse ass. That was the look at the time.
The sexy look. It's gone back and forth of rail thin heroin chic and baby got back and the late 19th century. It was all about the centaur body.
Yeah,
women really liked that. Just.
Girlie had wit a mask, could have won the horse awards. Remember that line?
No. What's that from?
It's an old Kanye West song. He was talking about Bun B, nicest Bun B, when I met him at the Source Awards.
I've met
Girl
Bun
he
B.
had with him asked could have won the Horse Awards. It's one of my favorite lines in the history of rap.
I have a picture of my phone of Bun B
That's awesome.
sipping a martini.
That's
And it's
cool
very
as
sweet.
hell. How did you meet Bun B?
My old friend Andy was like buddies with him. He was like a big car guy.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Hell yeah.
And I was a big fan. And you're just like, hey, hello, Mr. B.
Get us the hookup at Trillburger.
How goes it, Bun? But so let's see. I was just at Rose City, the new Rose City this past weekend, featuring Ferron Taylor.
Nice.
It was fun. It's again such a cool room. Excited for Scott to headline it January 30th.
January 30th.
January 30th.
Well in
Scott's
time.
headlining Rose City Comedy Club in Tyler, Texas.
That's right.
You should go to it if you're in the East Texas area.
You should. Come say hello.
But yeah, and I'm headlining it May 22nd.
Nice.
So that's way too out in the future, but
That is a while.
yeah.
It's going to be less cold then.
But I will be headlining the Big Laugh Comedy Club in Fort Worth on March 6th,
Nice.
3-6. So that's all on my website with tickets for that, JimmyNelsonComedy.com.
Dig that.
Excited for it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be better than the Grapevine show. The Grapevine show was fun, and we sold the place out, but it was not a comedy club, and it showed.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that they didn't have seats for everybody.
Yeah.
They're like, if you pay extra, you can have a chair. And I don't think that was very well written on the website. So like 90% of the people, they were like, you can't sit in the chairs up front.
We run a tight ship.
We run a tight ship. We play ball. Where it's like, hey, it'd be better for the show if you just let everyone sit down. And they're like,
Yeah.
no. So there's that. But you got anything going on lately?
Man. I was reading about Kim Jong Il's Joy Brigade.
Ooh.
His harem.
Yeah.
2,000 women broken up into 3 teams. All right. There's a happiness team for massages, a pleasure team for sex, and then a dancing team to do post-sex song and dance numbers. I was thinking, if you have to be in the Joy Brigade, you gotta be angling for one of those song and dance
Yeah.
roles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got like...
You get all the benefit
It's
of
just-
being
it's
in a
just-
very prestigious harem.
Yes, you probably get the good food.
But none of the gross having to see Kim Jong-il's sex face.
Man, you got to think of spread out between 2,000 people.
And that's a job.
Like, how often are you having sex with a guy?
That's true. You could kind of just try to get lost in the shuffle.
just kind of hang in the back.
Slouch in your chair.
Nobody mind me.
There's a lot of slouching going on in the
Yes.
Joy Brigade.
Yeah.
But I think,
I feel like it's
song
just-
and dance, that's a job you could be proud of.
Yeah.
I would talk about that at a high school reunion. You'd be like, what are you up to? And I'd be like,
Bit of a
not
showman.
not to name drop, but Kim Jong-il, the dictator of North Korea. Well, anytime I live in his house and anytime he has sex, after he comes, I'm watching through a little peephole in the door. And after he comes, I jump out and I shoot a confetti cannon and then I dab.
Yes. Every time King Jong-il
I make
comes,
$400,000 a year.
every time he comes, someone barges in going, Oklahoma, where the wind goes sweeping down the plain. And he starts clapping.
Yeah.
He starts clapping. He loves it.
Dun, 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 dun. It's all show tunes.
Yeah, of course.
It's mostly show tunes.
Classic stuff. I had a couple racial jokes.
Oh, no.
That reaction. Just, oh, no.
No.
Like, are you sure you want to record this and put it
What
out?
are they? What are they?
I had a couple ideas where I was thinking there's only one adorable form of racism, and it's when babies see a black person for the first time.
All right.
Because it just cracked me up thinking of like a baby is an old racist guy, and he's just like, there's only 3 things I know, and it's mommy makes the milkies, dad does his best, and people are white. And then they see a black person for the first time, and they do their dumb baby face where they're like, like they want to have an aside with you and be like, hey, the fuck's going on in there, huh? And they're like, oh shit, okay, people are different colors. I get it.
All right. I see.
There's building blocks there.
Yeah. We're learning.
We're learning.
We're learning about things.
Yeah. Owen met black people. And then my friend's kid, he's 7. He had his best friend's a light-skinned black kid. And he's like, the kid himself is like olive complected, but like both his parents are white. But like he was just comparing, he like kind of saw his friend, he was like, kind of held his arm up, and he was like slightly darker than his light-skinned black friend. And it was just like, in his little kid head, he was just like, oh shit, I'm black.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm darker. Like I'm a black guy.
Yeah. I've learned a lot today about
Thankfully,
myself.
he's 7, so they haven't gotten into an N-word pass situation. But
yeah,
I just thought
All right,
that was
that's
a cute little kid moment.
Yeah.
And thus ends the racial humor segment.
I think we got through that all right.
Those are little baby things.
Yeah,
Those are baby stories.
they're very cute. Just children getting to know the world around them.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing.
Hey, did you see Ari Shafir's special?
I have not yet. No.
I loved it. That was one of the, I don't like a ton of specials that come out. There's great ones. Or like a lot of them you just watch and you're like, that was funny.
Sure.
But I really enjoyed Ari's. He had like such a great through line through it all of seeing the positive in things, which sets up 80% of the jokes of like fucked up thing. What's the positive?
Yeah.
And I think it ended with his grandpa, who was a Holocaust survivor.
Oh yeah.
And he was just like, hey, what was like your best day there? The grandpa being like, what the fuck did you just ask me?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, like, you're in the Holocaust. It's all bad. But there was a day where it was cold and snowing, and there was a day where it was 71 and nice out. That day was slightly better than the other day.
Yeah.
So with that logic, what was the best day?
Yeah.
But it was just
you got to take out the day they got out, I imagine.
Yes, that was brought up in the special. I thought it was just such a funny, like, I'm jealous when people have stuff like that.
Yeah, it's very much like that. It reminds me of that book, Man's Search for Meaning, by the Holocaust survivor,
Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
But I just love the special had like that through line of seeing the positive in things.
Oh, yeah.
And it kind of kept circling back to that. I'm always jealous of when people have a real like cohesive idea that comes out and it's very funny still.
Yeah.
Or like I know like British comedians always do a one-man show that has like a theme.
Yep.
And that's a little too
I
show-tunesy for me.
recently watched James Acaster's Heckler's Welcome, and it was fucking awesome.
There are a lot of hecklers.
That was actually a point he made. There were like 3, and he was like, the thing he learned on the tour was like the exact amount of people. When he said Heckler's Welcome, the exact amount of people heckled, as always heckle. It was like it didn't make a difference one way or the other. But yeah, it was really good.
I like it. But yeah, you got anything else going on?
Well, remember last week I was somewhat miffed by Frosted Flakes glazed donut hole cereal.
Yeah.
I tried it and I saw it in the store and I thought it would immediately improve my life, and it didn't. But this week I tried a different cereal. It's Crave S'mores cereal.
Oh.
And it did immediately make my life better. My life's like it's pretty figured out now. I think I'm good.
I'm pretty locked in.
Yeah, Crave S'mores cereal. So the lesson here is, to find lasting happiness, you just got to keep trying cereals. That's the thing I've learned this week.
That's the self-help corner with Scott. Everybody,
right.
we went on a
Keep
big
trying cereals.
cereal kick at the fire station,
I fucking love
where
cereal.
we'll go through like a gallon and a half of milk.
Oh yeah,
a shift.
You will run through milk like a crazy person.
And if you see us as a unit, you would see us and go, that looks like a group of fellas that shouldn't be drinking a gallon and a half of whole milk every third day.
Well, too bad.
I think I'm seeing where some of your health problems are coming from.
On the other hand, you're in charge of keeping us safe. I think the population would want a little husk.
Yeah.
On the men charged with fighting our fires.
That's true.
You know?
It's about being beefy.
The fire doesn't respect wispy men.
God, no. The fire knows.
The fire knows.
Fire knows.
Fire
it's smarter
can
than we
tell.
give it credit for.
Oh, actually, I started a free Sims on my phone, and they made my job firefighter. So I look forward to having professional
if you need any
shop talk.
If you need any advice, feel free to let me know.
I don't think I'm going to be a good firefighter even in Sims. I can't imagine.
You just how you somehow just like are late for work all the time. Like, I don't. It's hard, man. I loved The Sims growing up.
It's pretty fun. It's fun to have on your phone because you just check in every now and again.
I used to have a joke about that of how I was so much more responsible in video games.
Yes.
Like in The
I'm always
Sims,
like, I should eat something.
I should eat something healthy, and I was like, oh, I'm going to study for 10 hours so I get my intelligence rating up. I'm trying to be a scientist.
That's right.
Or in Grand Theft Auto, like I wouldn't use cheats at first, and it was always well, you got to work hard and save your money and do some investing, and then at the end of the game, you'll have so much money you won't even think about it. Like, so
like if I could just have this approach in life.
So in Grand Theft Auto, I always heavily invested for my retirement. Like, man, I should probably do this in real life, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
But
that's so great.
Any closing thoughts besides cereal?
You shouldn't murder people. In the very least, if for no other reason, because you will end up on forensic files looking like a real jackass. They
Never
all
a
do.
good look.
I've realized forensic files is completely just about shaming murderers, but not for being murderers, but for
being bad at
murder. There was a lady that they caught. She tried to blow her husband up by lighting like a fuse into the gas tank, like in No Country for Old Men. And that didn't work. Eventually, she did kill her husband. And then when they were investigating her after, they looked up that like 2 days before the lighting the gas tank incident that they had rented No Country for, because they saw it and they were like, oh,
this
just
feels like
that.
No Country for Old Men.
And they look up her credit card statements. Sure enough, 2 days ago, No Country for Old Men.
That's always the crazy thing of just like how they can look up everything you've ever searched and all your credit cards and phone stuff. Anything you do online isn't secret. It's like able to be found.
Yeah.
And so if I ever murder someone and they go through and they just are like, well, he didn't look up how to hide a body, but I think he had an issue with porn. This is excessive.
Like, this is a lot, though.
This is a lot, though.
I thought
Jesus Christ.
I figured if it wasn't murder related, I was going to come away from this investigation without any new PTSD.
Yeah.
And here I am. Haunted by the images on this man's computer.
Yeah. Why is Bugs Bunny doing that to Pluto?
Like, and also pick a category.
Just know your favorite. Know yourself.
Yeah.
Know thyself.
Yeah. Just spraying your interests all.
So this brings to a conclusion this week's Oddball History.
Bone Wars.
Stay off of
Episode
forensic
66.
files.
Stay off forensic files. Keep it.
January 30th, see Scott at Rose City Comedy Club in Tyler, Texas. March 6th, I'll be at Big Laugh Comedy Club in Fort Worth. Ba-boom.
Cacao.
Jimmy and Scott digging through the past. Crazy tales they uncover fast. History stranger than you think. They'll also talk about wieners in a blink. They'll talk about wieners in a blink. Oddball history.